The Footprints Conversation series features discussions and insights from accomplished workplace and marketplace leaders, and their experiences on key leadership issues that could be of value to professionals and business people working for the Lord in their workplace and marketplace. This week's Footprints Conversation focuses on Genesis 13 and the value of compromise in conflict resolution at our workplace and marketplace. Conflict resolution and compromise are key challenges we face every day at our workplace and marketplace, so it's very important to know how to address them with biblical leadership principles. We are honored to have a billionaire, the most respected, godly and successful businessman and CEO of Abraham Limited at his time. He is also our own papa and grandpa, and he is joined by his nephew Lot.
We are happy to be here, and greetings to your audience.
Grandpa, before we dive in, we read from verse 2 of Genesis 13 that you became very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. This does not even mention the land and other assets you own. And you had so many employees working for you, which could put your net worth in today's value in billions. Can you tell us how it was like to be a billionaire and a believer?
First of all, let me set the record straight. I didn't have any of this wealth before the Lord called me. I wasn't even a hundredaire, if there's a word like that. When I left Heron with my wife Sarah and my nephew here Lot, we had very little. The source of everything I had was my Lord who called me. You will notice when I talk about compromise that this conviction is the basis of the decision I made.
We can't wait to hear from you about that. But before then, in this part of the conversation, we would like to hear from your nephew Lot the worldly view about compromise. We will like to know why he chose the better part of the deal. Mr. Lot, can we know your view on that?
You are right. Until my Sodom and Gomorrah experience, I held on to these worldly views about compromise, but I learned a lot from my uncle afterwards.
The Can-Do Leaders Network has a narrative poetry titled The Conscience of Compromise, and it is based on your Genesis 13 experience. I will encourage the audience to check it out. In that poetry, it is attributed to you as calling for the sentence of death to conscience in compromise. What is your take on that?
Yes, worldly view does not usually consider conscience in compromise. The world looks at interests and conflicts with the 3 key P's of 1, position, 2, profit, and 3, power. So my interests in the conflict that arose between my uncle and I was guided by these 3 P's and not by my conscience.
Can you break it down for us, please?
In a conflict resolution and deal negotiation, my worldly focus on 1, position is how do I improve my competitive position? How does my position give me an advantage over the opponent? 2, profit. What value or profit would I get from it? How will this profit reflect in my bank account or pocket? And 3, power is the main reason why I am seeking to be competitive and rich anyway. Status and wealth make me powerful. Conscience and compromise do not come in at all. Compromise is considered as the position of the weak and not the powerful.
So that is why the poetry says, the weak use compromise as alibi in conflicts.
Yes, that is the normal worldview. Only the weak will compromise in conflict. If my position is competitive, why should I compromise? If the deal will bring me profit and make me powerful, why should I compromise? So, as you rightly read from Genesis 13, I looked at the well-watered fields of Jordan, which checked all the boxes of a good deal and with my interests, so I chose that.
In a contemporary setting, what your uncle did was like giving you a blank check or asking you to call the shots and to name the price, and that will be the deal. But your uncle brought you up, and you benefited from his blessings by becoming rich yourself. Did you even consider your uncle in the decision before you chose the deal?
No, not at all. If I had considered my uncle, the best thing I should have done was to refuse the offer to choose first. I should have said, Uncle, I can't do that. You are the oldest. Please choose first. But you know, our worldly views in such situations are also guided by greed, selfishness, and win-lose mentality. I don't care about what happens to my opponent. My focus was on my interests that are guided by the 3 P's I mentioned earlier.
Did you also consider in your decision the fact that although this deal will make you wealthy, famous and powerful, It may come with some consequences, such as Kedorlaomer kidnapping you and your family in Genesis 14, and finally the Sodom and Gomorrah experience.
Note that too. After those experiences, especially the Sodom and Gomorrah experience, I got to understand why my uncle seeks the face of the Lord in every undertaking. I kept asking myself, did he know then that Sodom and Gomorrah would happen? Of course, he is constantly seeking the face of the Lord, so I will have no doubt about that. I think he will be the best person to share that.
So we can't wait for part 2 to hear from Grandpa Abraham the godly view behind compromise in conflict, and why with all his experience as a successful businessman took that decision that at first seemed like he was the weakest and the victim of the compromise. Grandpa, we can't wait to hear from you in part 2. Until then, please let's show our appreciation to Grandpa CEO Abraham and his nephew Lot.
If the Footprints discussion has been a blessing to you, pass it on to be a blessing to others. Are you a Christian drama group, literary club, or someone with creative arts talents? Are you interested in using your creative arts talents to convey biblical leadership principles for Christian professionals and business people in the workplace and marketplace? Then bring your talents on board for Kingdom Impacts.